So, what's a game without a story? Well, you're thinking, well, there are a few games out there that don't have a story, but not too many of them. So let's kind of get started here. So, story and gameplay are like oil and vinegar. Theoretically, they don't mix, but if you put them in a bottle and shake them up real good, they're pretty good on a salad. That's by Mr. Bob Bates. It's very true. You know, you can have story or you can have gameplay, but if you don't work it really hard to make them to mesh together, they don't mix. You know, it's just the way it is. You have to work hard for this to make them effective. And when they're effective, they're really effective. They're really good. So you're thinking, like, but my game doesn't need a story. You know, that's okay. Let's try that. Let's look at that. You're thinking, well, okay, a sports game. Well, actually, some sports games do have story and narrative in them. You know, things like, they still need them. For example, in career mode, you kind of need a story there. You know, may not sit down and may not be like a deep novel or anything, but you still have to work on it, right? You have to say what happens, and maybe you'll have other things that happen in between. Who knows? Also, dialogue. All right, so everybody's probably played or at least seen some video of Madden. You know, whatever year you see it. Madden talks. That's dialogue. Someone has to write that. It's probably him or someone who knows him well, but more than likely it's not off the cuff 100% of the time. So someone has to write the dialogue for that. Also, but the truth is, the ones that really don't need it kind of generate it on the fly. We'll see how that works out here. Puzzle games. You're thinking, well, puzzle games don't need story. Believe it or not, a lot of them do have story. There are very few that don't. Maybe P-Cross or not that many. Maybe there's only a few of them that really don't need it. But some still need it. Candy Crush needs some backstory, a theme. Dr. Mario. It's a puzzle game. Needs story. Tetris? There's a little bit of story in there. Not much, but it's there. So it's kind of the theme of what's going on. So, let's talk about the story itself. So we have two different kinds that we're working on. First of all, let's look at the typical when you think of story. Happens in a certain way. We kind of have actually two names for a string of pearls or rivers and lakes. So what that means is we have two parts in the game. We have our cutscene, which is our river or the string, and that's of course exactly what you think it is, a cutscene. You know, story elements are going on. That doesn't mean it has to be a pre-rendered cutscene or anything. That could be like some guy sitting over off the side telling you something, where you're about to go on a mission or a fly through or any number of things. You know, it's this bit of story to get you to the next section. It's kind of a treat almost. Well, some people think it's a treat, but I do. But some people don't like cutscenes for some reason. And then you have the level, the lake, or the pearl. So this is where the interaction comes in. So we've seen all these, we've seen images of, well, back in '90, this was a Doom level, and it's like this extremely complex, picture with all these rooms, all this stuff all together. And then you have the 2000s version, which is, hallway, cutscene, hallway, cutscene, hallway, cutscene, hallway, cutscene. That's still technically what's going on here. It doesn't have to be that bad. Final Fantasy uses this. Final Fantasy does give you you kind of this, well, most of the time it gives you this, like, here's some story, now go do something, and then come back and do the rest of it. Kind of gives you this free open area to move through. So we get a cutscene, we get some freedom to play around, and reach our goal, another cutscene, and it really, and there's a reason why I have arrows on the outside. So the game typically will start off with a cutscene. So you'll start off with a cutscene, you'll get some interaction, you'll get to town, and the elders will come out and you'll talk to them, and then you get a little bit of freedom, and basically continues on until the last bit of freedom where you're battling the boss, kicking his butt, I reveal my true form, blah, blah, blah. Please don't use true forms. Okay, you can use them, but just don't tell us. And then finally, when you're done, when you beat it, there's, the cutscene of him dying and the world being a better place, and the credits, right? It begins and ends with a cutscene. Very cool. So that's this kind of like linear story that we have. Sometimes it may not seem linear, but it usually is. This is a typical kind of RPG games that we see, or even shooter games like Doom, Doom 3. It's a linear story. You may be able to move around, go back to places where you were, but it's still a linear story. You can still cover the same spaces, but you get the idea, right? Okay, so, and then of course we have the other type, the non-linear stories. And sometimes you don't even need a fully written out story. Sometimes your game will create that story for you. We call this the story machine. And sometimes this is even kind of the stories generated by the users. So with that, think of games like The Sims will typically do that. So The Sims, there's no real story. There's little itty bitty pieces of it occasionally, but you're the one who's actually creating the story of them. You're building the house. You're sending them off to their careers. You're killing them off. Whatever. You're having children. Whatever. You're doing weird things. All right. Sims, Minecraft. Come on. That's like one of the most user-generated games out there, right? Well, besides, like Mario Maker, but that's another story. Actually, that's no story, but whatever. Okay, so Minecraft, you build these giant buildings, and you dig down, and you explore, and you do all this stuff. People are writing their own story. Yes, I know there's a little tiny bit of story at the end of it, but that doesn't count. Minecraft is the story, what you're doing inside of it. There are many games that do this. So, stories in most every game. Whether you write it out, down to the last letter, or you create a game that has this story part of it. All right, so trees. You're like, trees? What I want to talk to you about trees is that, some people want to do interactive stories. I mean, not like the rivers and lakes kind of thing, but we're talking like full on choose your own adventure kind of story. Yikes! There's a reason why there's no really great ones out there right now, because it is very, 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 very difficult. Now, like this tree. We could start off at the same point, but as the story progresses and you make new choices, the branches, here you go, the branches of the story get more and more. There's more pieces of the story that you're gonna have to write. You're gonna have to make them match. It's scary how much you're gonna have to write. And like this, if you're going to do it properly, you're going to have to write story. You're going to have to write endings as numerous as the leaves on this tree. So, Let's keep that story good. So remember, more paths is more work. So yeah, you could have a few choices, okay, so you have, let's look at it this way. So we're starting off, we have a good story, all right, and we make one choice that changes the outcome. That's one split right there. Now we have to write 2 endings, at least. And then if we split that again, that's 4 endings. And you split it again, that's 8 endings, and you see where it's going. That's a lot of endings. There are ways around that. Yeah, you could re-merge them back in, but the problem with that is it then gives the player less feeling of choice. It's kind of depressing when, I'm going to make this path, I'm going to be, Good Shepherd or whatever, and it keeps going. And, all your choices, all these crazy different choices you thought you were making that's going to change the outcome really doesn't. So it's kind of a depressing thing when people see it. When you're writing your story, make sure everything works together. There's an example that I want to tell you about. There's this old game. It's called Phantasmagoria 2. Alright, so this was back in the early days of CD-ROM games. This was, the original was fantastic. It was real live actors on a CG background, and it was this, madman killing people and things like that. The second one came out, I'm like, sweet, perfect. I'm going to buy it, and we're going to play and have a great time. And this one was full live action, which was pretty good. Like I said, it was on CD-ROM. It was one of the early games. CD-ROMs didn't really hold a lot, so there was multiple discs in the game. And finally, when I got to the end of it, and we're about to figure out what happened, why all these crazy things were happening, last disc goes in, and suddenly, from live action, real sets, we go to a cartoon alien world. A cartoon alien world. Made no sense. You felt like, was it Friday afternoon and they didn't want to write any more story? So, it just kind of ruined the whole story. And that is the only game that I've ever traded into a game store. It really disappointed me. And I know a lot of people were disappointed with that game as well. So, keep the unity in your story. If you're doing a live action game, with space aliens, keep it up. Don't do something strange. Or better yet, don't do like this, haunted house and at the last minute do space aliens. No. Keep your story good. Keep it unified, and people will love you for it. All right. So the next thing, like anything you're working on, test often. That doesn't mean go through yourself. You need to pull someone aside and say, here, read this. What do you think? Get their input. Listen to what they have to say. Write it down. Even if you don't take it, listen to what they have to say. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, but keep testing as you go. Because if you write it all and then find, at the very end that, you messed up, one chapter in, and now it's ruined everything afterwards, and you got to rewrite that. That's bad. You'll have to go back and rewrite all that content. And trust me, you don't want to do that. You're like, all right. So, like I said, with the test, often have someone else look over your work. Someone else is the key word. You're going to miss the most glaring of errors if you do it yourself. All right, so you're like, use as many verbs as you can. Okay, so the typical game doesn't actually do that much. It doesn't have that many verbs in it. Walking, shooting, ducking, hiding, collecting, reading, sniping, whatever. That's not a lot of actions. Especially compared to a book or a movie. a movie where you can, you can cry, you can sympathize, you can fiddle with a pencil, you can do all kinds of stuff. Bring those words and make the game as deep as you can, within reason. Obviously, don't suddenly your player finds his badge, and as he's looking at it, he sees that the picture is faded, and don't take an hour to describe someone's badge, but don't just go out and say it's a badge, an old badge. Take your time and do it right. Yeah, this is my favorite. Okay, so if you really want people to remember your story, killing a main player character is a great way to do it. And you probably are going, I know what game he's talking about. And it has the number 7 in it. Yes, Final Fantasy VII. If you think back to that, that was a fantastic story element. It had people crying. I mean, I remember tears of that game. People talking about, that's the first game I ever cried at. And not because it was evil or anything like that. It's because the main character, you're like, why did she have to die? And of course, everybody's trying to make her not die, and rumors of, well, you could save her, and no. Yeah, I'm sorry if I ruined the game for anybody. Come on, 20 years is, or nearly 20 years is, safe at this point. Of course, you could kill them without, making it permanent, but what's the use? It's not as fun. And by that I mean, don't make it where someone could have saved before they make the critical choice where the player character died and come back and time travel basically. Time travel is what we're talking about here. Saving and loading is considered kind of time travel, and it kind of cheapens the kill. So if you could somehow get around it, make that choice way early in the game. Make them not want to. Make them cry for it. But don't make it easy to kind of get around that. You could have saved him if you would have shot here within the first 20 seconds. Don't do that. So make sure the main character, if you're going to kill them right. You will bring tears. People will remember your game forever. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about story. Actually, what I want you to do is there's going to be basically a discussion area. I want you to talk to me. I want you guys to discuss amongst each other what games, what story in a game really brought out your emotions or really stuck in your mind that you really loved, and it just made things just happen. One thing you're not going to talk about is Final Fantasy VII. Don't talk about Final Fantasy VII because I really brought it up. So you had to make it hard mode. Okay, so now that we kind of talked about that, or you're going off to talk about that, we're going to actually talk about some software. I'm going to show you here, and it's a program called Twine 2. All right, so this piece of software is fantastic for writing branching software or branching dialogue. You can write your own, choose your own adventures in it. It's fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and jump over to that, and we're going to get it installed, and I'm going to show you how it works. All right, see you then. All right, so this is Twine. It's basically a piece of software that allows us to write branching storylines. You can play it online. If you saw the link, you can download it there, and actually you can work with it online itself. So I'm going to show you a few things about it. Actually, let me go ahead and just show you this quick little thing I worked on. It's a little branching story here. You can drag it around. In fact, let's go ahead and just launch it so we can see what it is. Alright, so this is a start. This is a little bit of the demo stuff that they had in the instructions here. So tells you around, many of them count, and basically you could try talking to the creatures, or you could walk down the ramp of your ship. Let's go ahead and try talking to the creature. So if I can click on that, it takes me to a different part of the story. I can choose what happens here. I offer them candy or scan them. Let me go ahead and scan them. So I find out that the chocolate is poisonous. I'm cooking instead. All right, so that's as far as I went in there. Now, if I just offer them candy, I find out chocolate is poisonous to them, and you get the idea. So you could also do other things like, let's go ahead and walk down the ramp here. The creatures ignore you, and you can do whatever you want. And this one is random. So sometimes they ignore you, they attack you, and whatever. This is very scriptable. It works out pretty well. Allows you to write your branching stories and like that, and work it out, and make sure story choices work. It allows you to store variables, things like that. You can actually look here. You can see what I was doing. The start of it. You try talking to them. You can do the two. They attack you. All right. So let's go ahead and go back home real quick, and we're going to start a new story. What should we call this? I don't know. Going home. Alright, so this is the story of me leaving here tonight and going home. So we're going to add the story. Alright, so here we have the beginning of our story. So we can go up here, change the name. Let's see. Alright. Sorry about misspellings or anything like that. You'll have to get over it. Alright, so let's go ahead and erase what's here. Alright, so this is actually giving us a little bit of bit of instructions. Now, what's really cool is you can look through here. This is a fast one. I'm going to maximize this so it's easier to see. But there is a full wiki on how to work on it. It's pretty cool. All right, so let's see. As finishes, wow. This is to make a choice. Okay, so I have two choices here. So this is how you do a choice. Split off to a different thing. You need two square brackets, and what you're going to name the choice. He's going to drive home. Alright, and I'm going to close this one out. That's one choice, so you notice it highlights it there. Or he's going to walk home. Alright, so we have those two choices. Alright, so when I'm done, I can go ahead and click out here, and because I made those, it'll go ahead and create these two for me. So let's say drive home. Actually, it's going to do the walk home because that's going to be a quick and easy one. We're going to end it there. Alright, so Let's see. He sets off. What takes so long to? It is time to go back before back to work. He gets done. He sets off walking home. Takes so long to get there. It's time to go back to work before he gets home. It's kind of ugly, but that's that's the end of it right there. I could end it if I wish. All right, so if I decide to drive home, okay, let's try that. Easy into his car and drives off. Okay, so we have two choices. Let's go ahead and okay, so gets into the car and drives off. Sometime during the drive, he gets a little fancy and to speed a little. All right, so we've come upon so what are the consequences of speeding? I get there faster. I could get in a wreck, or I could get pulled over, or whatever. Okay, so we have a choice. We have this kind of randomness here that we want to do. Let's go ahead and try that. All right, so I'm going to hit the open square bracket, and I'm going to start with something here. Okay, I'm going to start off with either. So basically, this is kind of a random choice between which one you want to use. Either it's IER. The sad thing is this thing doesn't have spell check, so it's kind of a problem. So I'm a little earlier, or it's one thing that could happen. Another thing could be that's bad, right? All right, or over and ticket. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. Dunk. 3 things should happen. Okay, let's go ahead and edit this one real quick. up, and no games this month. Okay, so we have all these choices here. We can rearrange these in case it gets a little clustery. So let's actually give this a try here. We're going to start off. So we finish, as Daryl finishes his lecture, and there he needs to make a choice. If I walk home, that's game over right there. That's one of the choices. Now I'm going to drive home, and oops, I made a mistake here. So you'll notice it kind of still gives us the choices here. So I'm going to go back and figure out what I did wrong here. So that's not terribly wrong. I already see what's happening. So let me go ahead and we'll walk back and fix it here real quick. Okay, so if you haven't already seen it, what I did wrong was these should be parentheses, not square brackets. Alright, silly me. Alright, let's try that again. So we'll start off top. I'm going to drive home. Oops. Got into a wreck. Oh no! Alright. So let's try that again. We're going to drive home. I sped off and it pulls me in. Okay, so you see what happens here. There is a possibility that it would choose either one. So and it gives you that random action in there. Now, this program does give you the ability to handle inventories. So, like if you need a key to get through a door, it can handle that. You're going to have to sit down and write that information out. If we drop here, we can go to let's go ahead and drop out back and go to the help, and that should actually take us to the Twine guide here. Yes, very good. So here they give you all the little pieces of how to use it. You can format your text. You can do all kinds of stuff. How to format your text. How to do, links. I showed you how to add images. Fonts and colors, all kinds of stuff. It's actually pretty handy. You can also publish your game. It's really cool. You can go ahead and create a JavaScript. You can do all kinds of stuff. So, the assignment that I have you now, of course, you're going to want to look at the assignment itself. Don't just do it right away. But you're going to look over to make sure we haven't added anything. But what I want you to do is to write a short interactive story. I want you to write a story about doing something. Really, actually, it could be anything. I'm not picky. It does have to have at least 5 different branching sections. So, as you're writing it, instead of doing what I did and write it off the fly, write it, right in there. You might want to go ahead and drop it into Word so you can spell check and make sure everything's right, and then copy it in there. Of course, make your choices. So I want you to go ahead and do that. 5 choices, and I want you to turn that in. And the specifics will actually be in the assignment, so don't worry about it too much. All right. Thanks for your time. I want you to write some good stories for me, and, well, stories for me when you get out in the industry. So keep it up. You're almost done.